Congressman Emmer, welcome to Real Vision.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Congressman, you were early to the party talking and thinking about cryptocurrency. Before we get into policy specifics, what was it that first drew your attention, your interest to the cryptocurrency space?
Young people, quite frankly. I know this is going to surprise you, but I'm not necessarily in that generation that is currently building all this wildly imaginative and fun technology. A little bit more than 7 years ago, I had a wonderful legislative staffer that was working with me, a kid from Minnesota, who now is working over on the Senate banking side. He gave me a book, The Age of Cryptocurrency. You know, it's something that he was starting to dabble in way back when. And he said, you probably want to understand what this is. I read that book, then I went back to him, and after I complained about, I'm a member of Congress, there aren't enough pictures. Frankly, there were no pictures in the book. I teased him a little bit. I said, you got to get me more. And it's been an interesting journey because, when we started this, I read that book, and I remember Landon saying to me, if you aren't the most knowledgeable in Congress on this topic, believe it or not, you are now within the top 4. I still don't believe that to this day. Remember, the Blockchain Caucus was actually started by Jared Polis, who's currently the governor of Colorado, and Mick Mulvaney, who had all kinds of jobs in the last Trump administration, and then Dave Schweik, who is still a representative from Arizona. It took a lot of time. I mean, probably much like out in the community, right? You get the Satoshi white paper. You have the 2008 financial challenges. Out of this comes something called Bitcoin. And guess what? I'm sure that the traditional banking folks were like, oh, isn't that cute? Look at the gamers. They're playing this, fun stuff with imaginary currency, Alice in Wonderland type stuff. Well, then it started growing. And I imagine some of the discussions by the central authorities were, oh my goodness, this could be a problem. We need to stop this. Well, much like China trying to turn off 100% of mining operations, they weren't able to stop this. It continued and continues to grow. So now what you see is your government, our government, and traditional two-tier players in the traditional two-tier banking system. They want to absorb it into the existing environment. That is not going to happen, I don't believe. They're going to try, but if they did, they'd kill it. And I just don't think the people who are all excited about this area are at all excited about the government doing it. So I started 7 years ago just with a book, and then realized from all the kids that my wife and I have raised that they think and process information a lot differently than we do. My generation is pretty much two-dimensional. My generation, like to feel the pages of a newspaper, right? We used to punch buttons in our car on the radio to get different content. People today see in 3-dimension and beyond. They really have abstract abilities that we just did not develop because that technology wasn't available back at that time. And it's a whole different world, which to stop, it literally makes it focused on the individual. The great excitement that I have in this area is that it empowers people to make decisions for themselves and their loved ones that are going to benefit not only themselves, but as they benefit themselves, it's that old adage, a rising tide lifts all boats. So I'm really excited about it, and I've been happy to advocate for it and happy to see like the Blockchain Caucus explode. It's now 40 members and growing. And remember where it started. There weren't too many people that were invested in this.
Congressman, to exactly that point, when you look out across the crypto space today, what do you see and what promise do you see for tomorrow with this technology?
Well, it's really, to me, crypto is facilitating the evolution of the internet from what the young people call Web 2 which is going to evolve into Web3, if you will, which is something really different and disturbing to the existing financial system. By the way, it shouldn't be restricted to the financial system. This is disruptive technology. What it will have the ability to do is eliminate my need and your need for intermediaries.
Right.
Right now, everything requires an intermediary. You want to get on Facebook? Well, guess what? Facebook is your intermediary. Yeah, the greatest example that Lizzie, who works with me here now, was giving different examples, and we were running through this a couple months ago. And the best example that we were talking about is, say you're a young artist right now, and you want to get your content out there on the internet. You want to get exposed to a broader audience because you want to get started in growing your brand. How do you do that? Well, you might create a YouTube video, right? You do not derive any income or compensation from that YouTube video unless, of course, you sell advertising directly to that site, right?
Right.
But imagine, and by the way, those who control YouTube are your intermediary because you need their platform to leap out into the greater group of society so they can see it. Guess what? In the future, in a Web3, conceptually, you and I would both have our own virtual identities. We would not need that intermediary. I could, and by the way, I won the Worst Singer in America contest once when I was very young, so this would not be me. Awful rendition of I Did It My Way, but that's a nightmare from a different day. Let's say I put that out today, I could create an NFT, and I could literally put that out into the environment and derive compensation if it's good. I think maybe I would derive some because people would be laughing at it so hard, but that's the concept, and that's the excitement, right? This isn't just how disruptive it is to our banking relationships and how we do business together, how it streamlines and takes away the friction of these different things. By the way, takes away the middleman, okay? It's not just that. It's about food safety. It's about logistics. Imagine a world where you have your own virtual identity and you have your entire medical history. You, not your doctors, everybody else. You have it. You carry it with you everywhere you go. It sits on the blockchain technology, so everything is open and transparent, but it's not. It's yours to control and yours to share with whom you decide you want to share it with. That's why it's so exciting to me, because it literally will give power back to the individual, which is exactly what our founders intended when they created this great experiment called the United States of America.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably the most significant change we've seen since the internet itself.
I would say it is just the next great frontier of that technology. You're right.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's happening so fast that the young entrepreneurs, young and old alike, by the way, I keep unfairly identifying that it's just young people, but these new ideas, they are coming so fast. And I think our government needs to really start to understand this is going to happen with or without you. There are some major benefits, as there were with the internet, right? By allowing the internet to grow, by keeping government from putting its wet blanket of regulation and oversight on the internet, we allowed something amazing to happen over the last 20 plus years. We stand to be in the same position if the U.S. can get its act together when it comes to Web3, and not just our financial system, but all those other areas that I just talked about.
Hey there, revolutionaries. Thanks for tuning in. For more content like this, head over to realvision.com/crypto and get unfiltered access to the most brilliant minds in finance and crypto. Join our community of lifelong learners for exclusive access, unparalleled education, and unbiased insights.